year, he decided to choose Utah instead of New York City because he said Utah was more boring, and that way he'll study harder. So while he was in Utah, my mother in Taiwan met two strapping, handsome missionaries from Utah, and she decided that she was going to be converted, and so she was baptized. So, so did my aunts too at that time. So when I was 7, then I came to Utah to join my father, and that's how, due to choices beyond my control, I grew up Mormon in Utah. And in Utah, marriage isn't just a choice between a man and a woman. It's a God-given commandment and central to what the church wants to do. And so when I grew up in Utah, I grew up thinking that if I didn't get married, I wouldn't end up in the celestial kingdom, which is the highest level, and that that would mean that I would not be able to be with God for like all eternity. So it put a lot of emphasis on the fact that it's important to get married. And when I was going through high school and we went to church, it was emphasized every year, several times a year, multiple times, the importance of marriage and how, even starting in primary, we had to sing songs, and part of the songs was going to the temple where marriage ceremonies were performed. And also, we had, in between the weeks, we had youth classes where we learned to bake rolls and put on makeup, hopefully leading to a better chance of getting married. So by the time I was in high school, I was like pretty hyped about getting married. And so were all the other high school girls. And some of them really succeeded at getting married right out of high school and had amazing, healthy babies 6 months later. I wasn't so lucky. So when I got into college, I was very excited to get dating seriously. I was going to get married, and I dated Steve, who looked like the Marlboro Man. He was very handsome, and he had a cleft on his chin, and he came from a rich family. So between him being handsome and rich, I forgave him for being boring. After dating for about a year and a half, I thought, wow, I've been dating for a year and a half. This is like a pretty good thing going here. And I was pre-med, he was in engineering. So at one point on the phone, he said, I would marry you in a heartbeat, except for the fact that it looks like you're going to be making it to med school. It looks like you're a shoo-in for med school, because at the University of Utah, they're kind of short on women, and so, you're a woman, so you'll probably get in. And I want to have children, and I want to have 12 children. So he says, if I want 12 children, go to med school. So I thought about it, and I thought, okay, well, I could try to fix that. I mean, marriage is really important. So the solution, because being Mormon, was to pray about it. Just really feel it in your heart. Is this the right thing to do? And so I did. I wrote down, I was like 20 years old, I don't know how old I was, but I wrote down a plan. You have to think about it, ponder it, and then you pray about it. So I wrote down my plan. I said, I'm going to quit college. I'm going to go work in a beauty salon. I'm going to support this guy, Steve. I'm going to quit everything, and that's my plan. And so I got down on my knees and I prayed, and I had this really strange spiritual experience where I got really tired and I went to sleep. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, I started having this vision. It was kind of like a dream where I saw this guy and I felt this love, and I was like running towards him, and there was even some like symbolism where this guy was looking at some purple petunias, and I was like, oh, he looks kind of young for his age. But when I woke up like a few minutes later, I said, that felt really different. That was like a love at a level that I don't feel for Steve. I don't think Steve is the right person for me. And sure enough, about a few months later, I kept dating Steve, hoping that that dream was not true. A few months later, he said to me, he said, you know, it's as clear as the nose on my face that you're really not the right girl for me. Obviously, because I didn't agree to have 12 kids and quit my med school training. So what happened was, he gave me, for Christmas, is when he kind of told me that it wasn't right for him, he gave me a racquetball racket instead and broke it off with me. So I ended up with my racquetball racket and no Steve for Christmas. And, you know, it was okay. It was okay. I went to the racquetball court and found a new friend and had a good time. So, but yet my heart, you know, was still looking for the right guy, you know, because marriage was really important. I wanted to, you know, do what I was taught to do. And so in med school, I met this guy. His name was Fred. And, you know, he met all this criteria, like all the list of things that I thought, you know, would be the right person for me. He looked Chinese, but he was born in Holland. So he was European, but he was Asian. He, from the moment I met him, he was crazy about me. He wanted to marry me. He was a doctor. You know, what more could I wish for, right? So I said, well, okay, I'll see if it works. And so he went back to Holland. Oh, by the way, he had a wonderful, cute Dutch accent too. So that plus everything else was like this nice complete package. And so I decided that I'd see if it would work. And sure enough, you know, he finished medical school in Holland and was able to get some internships here in Baltimore. And we got married. The problem was, you know, finally I was at the temple. This is the temple where eternal marriage was supposed to be, and I should have known that there was probably something, a little bit of a red flag, when the officiator said, "Can I have the ring?" And he took it out of his pocket, and it still had the price tag on it. And so the guy had to take out some nail clippers and clip it off. So we were kind of like, it was in between rotations. We were in a hurry. We selected the ring. He hadn't looked at it. Still had this plastic price tag that you couldn't just pull apart. And so we got married, and I thought, here, this is Sala Salou, right? This is the final destination. I was supposed to be in this wonderful marriage that was not just marriage, but eternal marriage. And so I was ready for the discovery. Right? I've arrived, I've gotten married in the temple. I am now waiting for the wonderful experience that marriage was supposed to be. Well, I discovered that marriage wasn't exactly Sala Salou. I discovered that dating went from actual dating to stating while we were in the grocery store, hey, we're on a date. So, and things weren't just I don't know. Things were just what we would call what the Mormon Church described it. But there were difficulties where, you know, where he would lose his job, and I ended up supporting him for about 8 years. So what happened was finally one day I was still ready to stick it through because, you know, and marriage was for, you know, for good or ill. And but one day my daughter said, and this is when she was like first year in college, she said, you know, sometimes, you know, marriage is like watering a flower, but if the flower is dead, you know, there's no use to keep watering it. And I thought about that, and I said, you know, that makes sense. You know, I've been watering this flower for a long time. 20 years is a long time to give a trial for a marriage. And I finally said, I think I'm going to stop watering this flower. And so I decided that I would go ahead and tell him. I told him that, you know, this is I like you, but this is not for me. And I made, you know, plans for finally separating, and eventually got my divorce. At this point, you know, after the divorce, he he found within about 4 months after we had our formal divorce, a beautiful woman who was half his age. Now they have 2 beautiful children. I'm happy being single. And my whole lesson from my journey and my experience is that, you know, it doesn't matter what the church says, it doesn't matter what God says. Next time, if the guy is going to ask me to marry, I'm going to ask myself whether it's the right place or right person for me. And if it feels right, if I feel like it's the right choice for me, then I think that's the right choice.